And as we were doing that, we realized that our characters didn't have any flaws yet. We thought we knew what our characters wanted, but we were wrong. And we found this out as we were preparing to assign ourselves homework for this week on what we were going to do to progress on our novel. And what our homework was going to be was to look at how our characters' flaws could affect the conflict and brainstorm 10 ways for each of our two main characters how their fatal flaw could make things more complicated for the conflict.
And that was an idea that came to me as I was watching a Jed Hearn video published maybe 3 months ago on some of the top 6 mistakes. I can't even remember. 5 mistakes that writers make when writing conflict. Now we'll put a link to Jed Hearn's video in the description for this video.
So that was going to be our homework for this week. And as we were preparing for that, we were looking at our character sheets and where we would put those ideas of how the flaws could affect the conflict. And as we were doing that, we realized that our characters didn't have any flaws yet.
I mean, we could see in some of the scenes that we had planned, that we talked about or written, that they had some flawed behavior, but we never articulated in the character sheets, this is the fatal flaw that this character has and how it relates to their needs and their wants.
And then after we noticed that, we also realized that there were some other kind of glaring holes in our character sheet. And we realized that we kind of conflated the category for our characters' needs and for our characters' wants. There should be, the way that the story arc goes, the idea is your character has some things that they want at the beginning of the story. And then as they progress through the story, they realize that what they want isn't actually what they need. And while the character probably doesn't end up getting what they want, they do end up getting what they need.
Right. And when we looked at, so for example, Vanessa, we had written, she wants belonging. And that's really what drives her. And what we realized in our conversation is that what she wants is to fit in, or she wants people to conform to her expectations. Mm-hmm. And what she learns by the end is not just how to fit in, but how to be her true self and be comfortable being that person and belonging even when she may be different from other people.
And something that we've explored is also this idea of her providing that place of belonging to other people as well later on.
I forgot about that. You're right.
And then for my character, for Arnold, what we had thought his wants were was respect. And we realized that his want is actually popularity. And he realizes through the course of the story that what he really needs is to be someone who is respectable. And then he will have that respect that he wants.
So our homework has changed.
Yes.
We have some pre-work to do before we can do that homework assignment. So we're actually going to be looking at the character sheets that we have. And there's a part of it, and we'll put a link to this also. We talked about the tool that we're using, and you can see what we kind of scrolled through it really fast about what our character sheet looks like. But there's a character journey section of it that came from a Jerry Jenkins worksheet that we put into our collaboration tool. And so our homework is to begin filling out that part of the character sheet for Arnold and for Vanessa, especially where it comes to their needs, their wants, and how their flaw relates to those two.
And then after we do this, at some point in the future, we'll be able to look at their flaw and do what our homework originally was going to be and see how that flaw can affect the conflict in the plot. But that's for later. We have our work cut out for us right now. Our question for you today is, what is an example, maybe your favorite example, of a character who wanted something at the beginning of a story, and then over the course of the story, they changed and realized that what they needed was something else. How did that character change? What was the difference in their wants and needs? Let us know one of your favorite versions of that down in the comments, and we will see you next week.